Look, you've been watching the headlines. You've been seeing the power rankings. By the time this video comes out, within 5 hours, every team is probably going to be releasing all of their hype content all at once. Okay, so you're going to be onslaught today with a bunch of LCS news, positivity, hype, whatever. Just remember, enjoy it, folks. This day only happens once a year where all hopes are on the table. Anything can happen before people's dreams get crushed in about 48. So welcome back to the LCS, folks, and welcome back, most importantly, to That's right, folks. Welcome to the pit. This is the weekly series that gets into the action of everything with the LCS, specifically previewing the matchups and the hype to come in the next few days. Not really going to reflect on the prior week's matchups as much. This is going to be much more future and forward thinking and just reflecting on the headlines of the past week that we haven't been able to talk about, starting with VisaGate, which has luckily, for the most part, been resolved in the areas that are really important to the league. Now, there are still players that are currently dealing with visa issues, notably Dignitas with both FBI and Ignar, and DSG's Kryra is still stuck in Canada and cannot get his work visa approved to be able to play in the league. Stepping in their place for DSG is Kisno, and for Dig is going to be Mobility and Breezy. I can't tell you all that much about any of these three players. I've never really watched NACL enough to know what they're like, but just know expectations for both of these teams are really not all that high based on the power rankings that exist. So hopefully they can have fun and come in and make an impact and make a name for themselves and maybe pull something similar to a Yukino over in the LEC where, hey, a good performance boosts your reputation and then people look at you as a possible replacement if something goes wrong on the top teams or even the middle tier teams that are trying to make that final push or find that final spark going into the later portions of the year. But hey, now's a chance to prove yourself. Which, speaking of those power rankings, I've personally put out mine as part of the crossover podcast. Paul and I sat down for a full hour going through every individual player and every team, predicting how they will end the split, which is a lot different than how most other people do it. Most other people do just like general power rankings. These are the teams I think are the strongest. People will rank the teams by the end of the split and say, like, this team's going to win, but nobody really does the players, okay? And I know there's some bold predictions in here that people have taken criticism to, which, fine, I would say go watch the full thing. If you want the full explanation, I'm not going to repeat anything here. But what I would tell people is this. You don't pick all the 1 seeds and the favorite overall in the NCAA tournament every year. While you may get many of those right, the reality is you're probably not going to win your bracket doing so. You have to take some chances outside of just the pure favorites. So with that, that's how this list came to be. But pretty much everybody in the whole esports space, including The Dive, including Jat put his out on the JLXP channel, the LCS Report guys put their out, Raz put his out on TikTok, that everybody's got opinions. And there are certain fans that seem to be more mad than others. So let's introduce a new segment that I like to call So Your Team is Underrated. That's right, folks. There are 2 specific teams that in these power rankings, the fans seem to be upset. One of which I think is entirely justified. The other one, I really don't. Let's start with the justified one. That would be Lion, okay? For weeks, there was this hubbub about, oh, this is a super team, or the closest thing that North America is going to create to a super team. You have Inspired, who is by far and away, as of right now, the best jungler in North America. Possibly the best jungler in the West, depending on who you ask. You have Berserker, who was fantastic during his time in North America before going over to Korea and giving himself a chance in the LCK. You have Dokla in the top lane, who's notably filling in for Zamudo because Zamudo got his visa denied again, so it looks like Dokla's going to be here all year, okay? Saint, notable tilter apparently, but very individually skilled, and then you have Isles in support. This was a roster when it formed. Everybody looked at the support role and was like, okay, that's the only kind of odd duckling out to a certain extent in terms of people's expectations and what they have assumed for these players. But the rest, yeah, this is an LCS squad that could absolutely win. It's designed to win. And early impressions, I thought everybody was going to have them in their top 2 or 3. And then all the power rankings came out, and everybody had them at somewhere between 4th and 6th, saying that they weren't going to be great and that there could be issues with this squad when it comes to their ability to all get on the same page and possibly mentally boom. But the thing is, if you're starting with your prediction at 5th or 6th, where are they going to mentally boom to? Okay, that to me seems a little bit too low. If you're going to properly rank Lion in this situation, I think you got to put him at least second, all right? And then say, come spring, come summer, yeah, the issues are going to start appearing and they're going to quickly fall down the leaderboard. Now, Jat notably made the point that yes, all the players on Lion aren't necessarily strong laners. And while Inspired typically prefers to have strong laners, I still think this squad's team fighting is going to be absolutely cracked. Will it get to that point? Well, that's why I didn't put him above Team Liquid in my personal standings. But I think there's a very valid case for Lion fans to be looking at this and be like, we literally picked up the best player that you could possibly ask for and Inspired, that many of you said that we should go after and that Team Liquid would be quite literally unstoppable with him. And now all of a sudden you're putting us fifth? Nah, what the hell? I agree. Underrated as hell. The other is Shopify Rebellion, which I know Cloud Sicky has been on everybody's ass, and they just teased now that Ludwig is apparently going to be revealing the roster. Now, what's the argument for Shopify Rebellion? Well, they finished third in the last two splits, notably upsetting Cloud9 and then getting close against 100, well, not close in their series against 100 Thieves, but they finished third, okay? They're upgrading the worst player on their team in Palafox, okay, to this unknown quantity in Zinni, who, according to Chronicler and according to others over in the LCK, is going to come over and smurf on North America. But I would say Korean imports in the United States, or well, in the LCS, go one of two directions generally. First is that it can take time. This is more of a recent trend, with Quid being the highlight here, where that first split was not necessarily pretty, but then you look at the majority of the other imports that come in and just start swinging are absolutely incredible from the jump. If we get a swinging version of Zinni, this Shopify roster could potentially be good. But I think there's this common belief that for two splits in a row now, Shopify has overperformed expectations. That third is not necessarily where the skill level of this squad is, which is why they get underrated in power rankings all the time. However, the thing I would say is the league around them did change pretty substantially. I'm not willing to put them above C9 this time around because I think the coaching changes in APA are a solid foundational change that will enable Blabber a little bit better, so I put C9 above them. Lion, well, Shopify just got slapped by the jungler that's now on there, and by the top laner that's now on there. Team Liquid's Team Liquid. I'd say this group is solidly 4th to 5th, which is exactly where people have pretty much been putting them in the standings. So I'm not going to say underrated. I'm going to say properly rated, but I do think this squad, assuming Zinni follows the path of Quid, will be pretty damn good later on. But it will raise questions. If Zinni's fantastic, what is the floor of everybody else? Because I think there are underlying worries that Fudge, that Contracts, and that Bvoy and Seos, more notably Seos than Bvoy, are not going to be able to live up to the caliber that you need to consistently perform at to be able to hit top 2. It's not actually Zinni that they're worried about. Now, quickly touching on some of the watch parties that are going to be happening around North America this weekend. In New York City, we are going to have a watch party here at OSNYC on Saturday, notably before the big snowstorm comes, so should be able to come in, have a good time. There's no cost to attend. There's one in Austin, Texas that I saw on Reddit, and Lion are notably hosting one in Mexico City. Those are the only 3 watch parties I've seen outside of LA promoted on social media in any capacity. In terms of co-streams and like watch parties there, like online, I've seen no announcement at the time of recording this, which is 6:27 p.m. on Thursday, that tells you what's happening with co-streams. I don't know. I'm still wondering if I'm possibly going to get co-streaming rights in any capacity. I sent an email, for those that were wondering, to the influencer manager folks over at Riot. I did not hear back at all. So just so you all know, I am trying to get co-streaming rights, but we'll see. So do me a favor if you haven't done so already. Be sure to like this video, subscribe. It goes a long way to helping me make my case for those of you that were in the comment section that were like, you should really get co-streaming rights. It's like, the bigger, better case that we can build for this, the more likely it is to happen. So your support's always appreciated. Again, I got plans if it were to happen, but we'll wait until that moment comes. Anyways, let's kick it over to LTA Fantasy. If you have not done so already, be sure to join the Shynokers LTA Fantasy group. We are 179 strong. I'm hoping this can possibly hit 200 before the split is over. I'm giving away a free skin to the top performing person in our leaderboard. Should be a good time. But let's take a look at what we can get on the market. The most favorable matchup of the weekend, I think, is going to be Lion versus Dignitas. And I do think that there is a good possibility that many people are going to be picking players from these teams. Of note, you do get a variety buff. The more people you pick from different teams, the higher your potential bonus is. You're seeing down below 0% if you pick everybody from one team, but if you pick all 6 different teams, you get a 25% point bonus. So that can be leveraged pretty heavily. The first person I'm looking at that I think is going to be the best budget out of all the players that are on Lion that you can get your bang for your buck for, I think the first and easiest, lowest points is Berserker. Like, I'm taking that every day of the week, and it notably is going to be Fearless, so you'll only get one of these champions. I think he will get Sivir at some point. It's just the champion that he's historically liked playing, and I think it's just free points there. That then frees me up to pick the guy that I want to at the top. Look, if the Scrim Buck rumors are to be believed, Team Liquid is absolutely dunking on people. So give me Quid, give me the Yone if he gets the chance to play it. Oh man, would that be fun. In the jungle, I think Griffin versus Contracts is going to be a really interesting matchup. The question is, do you take the chance on the rookie? But Contracts is even lower value against FlyQuest. And I think if they're going to perform, granted the synergy with mid lane might not be the best, but he can easily pair well with Fudge as he did last split. I think that's a steal. The only champion that I know for certain will probably get played, assuming it's not banned the entire week, probably J4. On the top side, like this feels like a steal. No, there's no reason Morgan should be 16, and so many of these other guys are higher ranked. Like that, you have to take Morgan, right? Give him the Mbessa, watch him pop off, see what happens. So we've got 2 TL, we've got a Shopify, we've got a Lion. Huhi and Rahel playing against their old team, I think is genuinely a pretty good matchup. I think that Sentinels is kind of favored in that. We'll touch on the matchups here in a minute, but that feels like a good group to get points with, especially considering that DSG is going with a younger bot lane. I'm going to give him his classic Rel that he really likes, which frees up 13.5 points to pick a team, which is unfortunately nobody. God damn it. Oh, I'm going to hate myself for doing this. I'm absolutely going to hate myself for doing this, but I think I got to get rid of Quid because he's a little too high in price right now. And you save a ton of money by being able to pick literally anybody else at this point. So I think it's worth picking up Spawn and TL. Okay, if you cannot get like an individual player from there and they're too expensive, fine. We pick the team. All right, which frees us up for 19 points, which should be enough to pretty much pick whatever mid laner we want that's not Quid. And we've got what? TL. Screw it, I'll pick Saint. I'll stick with the belief that they're going to be good early. And if that gives me enough to be able to level up and then eventually upgrade for Quid, that'll be the first opportunity that I take to do so. So, that's my fantasy group. Let's kick it over to the preview and predictions for this upcoming weekend. Opening weekend slate of games is seen over here, and don't forget, this is Swiss stage. So once you play somebody, you are not able to play them again in the 2 other future rounds. So, starting with CL versus T9.
Huh? CL versus T9.
You talking about?
This entirely depends on whether you believe the Scrim Bucks and whether you think that those are going to carry over into the stage games. If that's to be believed, even with Morgan only arriving here today, with Spawn saying on a clip on Twitter that I think they were winning at like a 64 or 63% clip rate in scrims right now, which, hey, winning obviously doesn't mean everything, but with a sub, that's pretty damn good. And apparently over at the Kespa Cup, even when teams weren't trying, they were smashing scrims pretty hard. I know everybody's going to use Kespa Cup as their reasoning. And by all means, I was early on the train of saying that, hey, C9's going to take this early round matchup. When it comes time to put my money where my mouth is, I can't. Team Liquid, 2-1 over Cloud9. If this is a 2-0, oh God, like just be ready for the split to just be obnoxious for TL, who notably have never lost a lock-in tournament. Sentinels versus DSG. This entirely depends on whether you think that Impact can rebound with his laning. Darkwings, Huhi, and Rahel all showed promise towards the end of last year. Hambach, I have not seen a single thing of, so I couldn't even give you an educated guess. But DSG playing with a sub-jungler, and I think the bot lane just being substantially weaker than what we are going to see from Sentinels. Yeah, I'm going to give this over to Sen. I'm going to say 2-0, actually. I can see this getting sloppy, but I don't know. I just don't see an Impact team being like terribly sloppy. It's either really good or really bad for some reason. FlyQuest versus Shopify. Shopify's first series with Zinni. FlyQuest first series with Griffin. Look, I think FlyQuest is going to be fantastic by the end of the split, but in order to buy my good graces with some people and just say that, they need time to develop a little bit and we don't get too hyped on them straight out the gate, I am going to go 2-1 Shopify over FlyQuest. And then to close out the weekend, we have Lion versus Dig. I need anybody that's picking Dignitas on this one to go see a doctor. Like, just go get checked. There's not a lane here that I see them winning in any capacity. Maybe Photon over Dokla, but even then last year we saw that and it didn't go too well for him. So I don't think this is going any other way than a Lion 2-0. From there, then, we will see what the draw reaction is on Sunday. On Monday, I'm trying to figure out whether I want to do just like the draw reaction and my top 5 plays from the weekend. I don't know how I want to handle Monday's thing, or whether people would actually be down to watch like live view highlights from the day prior. I don't know. I don't just want to put highlights out there because there's a billion other channels that do that unless I actually have co-streaming rights. Then I think like you put those out the day of. And even Monday, maybe you just do a top 5 plays of the weekend. I don't know. I got 3 days to figure out what I want to do for that video. And then Wednesday will always be the topical video on like something that we've seen from the week, the economics, the viewership, whatever. I know some people won't want to talk about it, but I'm excited to see the numbers. Our goal here is 100K. We want to hit 100K viewers this upcoming weekend. That'd be a big number. Will we get there? I don't know, but only time will tell. Be sure to tune in if you're going to come out to the watch parties here, either in New York, Texas, or Mexico City. Be sure to bring your friends. Let everybody know. And guess what? The LCS is officially freaking back, baby. Let's go.